with you. This is the secret or the source of uh, feeling, feeling protecting and feeling fortified. I am with you. Be not dismayed. And the original meaning of this word, it means do not look left and right. So do not be disturbed, do not be troubled, do not be cross-eyed, do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. We need strength in this difficult time. We need someone to lead us. We need someone to encourage us. And the Lord is here to say that to every one of us. I will strengthen you. Yes, I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. So the Lord is here to help. And if we will help you guys, we will reflect the help of God to every one of you. But I need to tell you, by the way, it is healthy to be afraid in this time. And myself, I'm afraid. And I can say that this is normal. So I love to use this term. It is normal but dangerous. Normal to fear, normal to be a little bit paranoid, and to feel that every time you cough or every time you have fever, you feel that you're already caught by corona and you're already sick, and you put the scenario. So this is normal. But what it is not normal to lose your hope in the
Someone
Lord
to lead us.
and to lose your inner peace. So please, I would say this is a golden time to every one of us to come close to God. It's a golden chance to repent. It's a golden chance to know your weakness and to throw your weakness in front of the Lord. And the Lord will not leave you alone. And by the way, as a priest, I listen to the people all the day. I can tell that the majority, they give me phone calls and they say to me, Abuna, we are more closer to God. Abuna, we have attended a very special Holy Week. We will not forget it as long as we will live. So all of this, God is able to bring blessings out of this difficult time, out of this hardship, out of this plague. And I would say that it's a golden chance for us to be together, a golden chance to be with God, a golden chance to be with yourself. By the way, we were strangers to ourselves. I will tell you that I know myself better than before the corona now. After I live with myself now for over 55 years, but I didn't know myself as I should be. Now I can tell that I know um, Mr. Moises uh, very well now, and at least better than before. And I discovered many weak points in myself in Corona crisis. And I discovered many mistakes I commit through Corona crisis. And I discovered uh, many of my sins. It was hidden, and they were not in my consideration. Now I'm aware of my weakness more than before. So I thank God for this Corona, and I thank God for the time I spend with my family. I thank God for the time I return to my old friends to give them calls. So it's better to find the good things in this hardship rather to live in distress and to be disappointed and to to have short temper and to yell and to explode in front of everyone. No. And to run to see more movies and more TV shows. This is not the solution. Try to discover the blessings of the corona, and do not forget that he said, I am with you, fear not. I will take you by hand and I will strengthen you. Do not be dismayed. Glory be to God forever and ever. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Abuna. Okay. I want to introduce our esteemed team to you. I'm proud to serve with them, and I'm also proud to call them my friends. They are here to answer any questions that you may have. So please write them in the comments in the live stream in Facebook. You can just comment your questions in Ilmakar channel. And also I believe CYC is streaming it. So we will get to all your questions, God willing, as much as we can. So behind the scenes is Andrew Abdu. We have to say thank you to him because I have no idea how he's connecting all our worlds. So thank you, Andrew. My name is Sylvia Farah, and I am a mental health professional. We have 3 medical health professionals with us today. Dr. Nader Boulos, he's an emergency room physician at St. Joe's Hospital, and he's been practicing for over 20 years. We also have with us Mariam Dos, who is a nurse practitioner in the emergency room in Hackensack Hospital. She's been in practice for over 20 years. We have Dr. Nader Youssef. He is a pediatric gastroenterologist for 20 years, and he's also a biotech and pharmaceutical executive with many years of clinical research experience. We also have Lillian Ebedir. She has been an educator for 26 years and is currently a school counselor. Mariam Girgis, a licensed clinical social worker and an extensive and vast experience, is particularly treating trauma. Mary Gabriel, she's been an attorney for 15 years and is a partner with a regional law firm. And we also have Peshoy Fehmi, who is a CPA and helps his clients and small businesses with financial advice. So this team, this group of servants have volunteered their time and have committed to answering the hotline and providing any support for our community. We rely on the support and prayers, of course, of our Reverend Abuna Moses Bugdadi. He is the spiritual fire that fans our fire. He's our flame. So welcome, everybody. We already have a bunch of questions. So I'm gonna start with the first question for you, Abuna. I think it's on everybody's minds. How can we be patient with receiving the sacraments, especially communion?
First, I feel for you all, and now at least we are away for 8 weeks, at least. Some they are away more than that. So I feel for you. But I love to say that the first purpose of the sacrament is to feel the presence of God. And the presence of God can be done through many ways. The glorious one is to attend the sacrament. If you are in a liturgy, you feel that you are in heaven for sure. But do not forget that God said, if 2 or 3 will gather together, I'll be in their midst. So every time we pray together, Jesus is in our midst. Our mistake that we are accustomed to one type of receiving God in the sacraments. We were not coached to receive God in our family prayer. And we are not accustomed to receive God in reading the gospel with a spiritual way, to feel his presence, to interpret the Holy Scriptures to us. So this is a very important point. We have to examine and experience new ways to have God, not only the sacraments. Yes, the sacraments is the easiest way and the most glorious way, but there are many other ways. Tell me about Saint Mary the Egyptians, who were in the desert of Syria. And when Amba Zosima met with her, she said to him, I need the Holy Sacrament, so go and come next year bringing the Eucharist with you. And she was for 40 years without taking communion. Ambabola, he was in his cave for almost 70 or more than 70 years without receiving the sacraments. Do you want to tell me that they didn't feel the presence of God? No, they felt the presence of God through their prayers, through reading the Holy Scriptures, through uh, their their fasting and their worship. So we need to return to this. And by the way, we were zero in this field. We were very ashamed to pray in front of one another. It was very embarrassing for a mother to say, hey, kids, let us pray. It's very embarrassing for the father to pray in front of his wife. So now we have started this and we prayed Thukta Tigom and Bascha together. Now we read the gospel together. So every time, as Saint John Chrysostom said, every time you open the Bible, you have to believe that Jesus on the other side of the table with you, the same one who appeared to the two disciples of Emmaus, will appear to you and will open your mind that you may interpret the Holy Scriptures in the good way. So let us return to the family altar. Let us return to pray together. Let us return to read the Bible together. And let us return to accept one another within the one family.
Beautiful. Thank you, Abuna. I know you in one of your sermons during Bescha, you said you loved seeing all the altars in all the homes. So we've built thousands of churches now across the country. It is a beautiful thing, and that's.
It didn't happen before, by the way,
No.
and I doubt that if Corona will go away, I doubt that we will still have this beautiful scenes of the corner of prayers in every house. I have thousands of pictures. I'm so proud of them all. And if I'm happy like this, how about God? I believe He is so happy about that.
Yes, absolutely. Thank God. Okay, we have a lot of questions coming in, and the next question is for Dr. Nader Boulos from Brooklyn. Hi, Dr. Nader. So we've got a question for you, I think that's also on everyone's minds. Aside from underlying conditions and the immunocompromised, right? Can you talk to us about why some people just seem to get sicker than others without a real reason?
So I don't think we fully.
You're muted. I think you're muted.
No, it is low volume. You have to raise your volume.
Low volume. Okay, is this better?
Yes.
Okay, hold on. What? So, am I okay this in volume or no?
Sure. If you can get a little louder, that'd be great. But go ahead.
One sec. Okay. Okay. So, that much better?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. So it's unclear exactly why it's affecting some people so hard and other people not as much. It seems to be an immune-mediated reaction. So every person's immune system is reacting to this differently. Why that is still unclear. But the more severe your immune response is, the more severe the illness. Basically, the immune response is going above and beyond what it should, and that is what's affecting people so harshly.
Okay. All right. I'm going to come back to you with another question. We have a question for Mariam Dos. Hi, Mariam. You've recently recovered from COVID, right? Can you
Yes.
talk to us about some of the symptoms that you experienced and at what point you felt you needed to go to the hospital?
Sure. So for me, it started with severe back pain, but I didn't really associate it with having an infection or feeling sick or anything like that. I just thought I was working out a little bit more intense than what I usually do. And again, like you mentioned in the beginning, I work in the emergency room, so it's a very active job. So I kind of thought I was having a long shift, and I would go home tired, difficulty getting out of a chair, difficulty getting out of a bed. But during the course of the day, I took Tylenol, and I was able to function, but my pain was still there. Again, I didn't stop myself or say, hey, this could be, I can have corona. And then as the shifts went on, now again, I was treating patients from the end of February was my first exposure with my patient. I didn't get sick until the end of March. So I had severe congestion and headache. The headache was constant and I couldn't break it. And that was unusual for me. And then on my last shift that I worked, it was a very difficult shift. We were at the height of we were at the peak at Hackensack in the ER, where that one particular day we had about 150 patients that had come in. So I, again, attributed it to a heavy shift, very sick people that, I was moving stretchers and equipment and mostly the oxygen tanks. Again, so the back pain was severe at that point. And at that point, when I went home, that's when I started to feel very exhausted. I couldn't go back to work because I was too tired. And that's when I realized, okay, I think I have to go get tested. And I did, and it came back positive. As long as my breathing was okay and my pulse ox, which is your oxygen saturation, I have a little device at home that I did check it. As long as that was okay, I did not worry enough to go to the hospital because I already knew that I was going to be sent back home. So as long as my breathing was okay and I was not short of breath, then I was comfortable to stay home. My symptoms were different than what I was hearing from other people. So I never really had a fever. I never had a cough or shortness of breath. So as I was talking to other colleagues and other nurses and doctors in the hospital, we kind of all had different symptoms. But a big one that no one really was ever talking about was the back pain. But the back pain was really the body aches that everyone was talking about. And so that was the worst part of it for me. As I progressed, that kind of alleviated a little bit. And then I started to have the loss of taste, which I think everyone has heard about that, and the loss of sense of smell, but I didn't lose that. But of course, because I love food, that's what I would lose is my taste. But that came back after about 3 days and it was okay. And then I started with a little bit of the GI symptoms, the diarrhea, and that was about for 2 days. But it just felt like after I started to feel better from one symptom, the next one hit. But altogether, it took about 2 weeks. 2 weeks, about 14 to 16 days for me. And then I feel fine now. I went back to work and I work normally. So.
Salamtik.
Thank you.
Okay, we have another question for Dr. Nader Youssef. Is he on? Yes.
I'm on. Yep.
Okay. Hi, Dr. Nader.
Okay.
So a lot of people in our community have chronic diseases such as diabetes, heart disease. How would you advise people to manage these, their illnesses in the absence of being able to go to their doctors regularly?
Well, thank you. I think it's a very important question, and we need to be very clear that if you have a chronic illness such as diabetes or chronic heart failure or chronic lung disease, one of the most important things is not to delay continuing to be in contact with your physicians, because those are medicines and conditions where they are tightly controlled by the types of interventions you can intervene with as early as possible. So I think one of the things, and my message, and I think anyone else would concur here, is you have to have a constant communication with your specialist, even throughout this. This shouldn't be a time where you can say, you know what, I'm having that headache, or I'm having just a little bit of, my blood pressure is just a little bit high that I'm monitoring at home, or my sugar has been a little bit higher, but you know what, I'll wait. And I'm afraid to go to the hospital, or I'm afraid to go to the office. So I think number 1, 2, and 3 is you need to have the continued communication, and we have to take advantage of the telehealth that's available now that a lot of these practices have started in using as well. So that would be the way I would advise these people.
So take advantage of the telehealth.
Yes.
And don't wait, don't ignore, take care.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right, we're going to get back because we have another question for you, but this question is for Lillian Abadir. This is a learning curve for all of us. I have 3 kids myself, and I'm thrown into homeschooling. So it seems like the entire family unit now is just part of this virtual world. What advice can you give parents regarding the pressures of homeschooling?
So first, the advice I would give them is if there are a lot of pressures and they are feeling it, I'm in constant contact still with all the teachers. We still have like weekly meetings. If there's something that they're feeling at home and there's a lot of pressure at home, to please reach out to their child's teacher. There's absolutely no reason why it is they should have to do this completely alone. But while they're at home, if they can make it as tolerable, as bearable, as enjoyable as school can possibly be for the kids, that also might help out with the pressures. Maybe structuring their day a little bit, actually having like a list, okay, from this time to this time, we're going to do this, we're going to take a break, we're going to have lunch, let the kids have a recess during the day, let them have a gym period during the day. Like, try to structure their day so that it's a little bit more manageable for the parents. Because I think that's really the hardest part. As parents, we're still working, a lot of us as well. So it's hard to get our work done and still help our kids while they're learning and helping them learn, especially if you have little kids. If your kids are older and they're self-sufficient, it's better for them. But if you've got kindergarten, second, all the way maybe up to 5th, 6th, 7th grade, they're going to need your support. So try to schedule out your work day with their schedule to make it a little bit more manageable for yourself. But please, please reach out to the teachers. If your kids are having issues, reach out to the counselors. If your child is classified, reach out to their case manager. There's absolutely no reason why you should do this alone. Our teachers in my building, we are in constant communication with the kids who we knew struggled before, and we're kind of monitoring them. So don't just stay home thinking that you can do this on your own. I would really reach out to them. And there's one piece of advice I can give, really do not let this homeschooling situation ruin the relationship you have with your children. That comes first and foremost. So please, I don't want you fighting and having that tumultuous relationship. Again, call the teachers, call the counselors, call the principal. They're there and they're there to help you. And anything that your kids are learning right now, in all the meetings that we've had, we always talk about come September, hopefully we're all back in school then. But these teachers they know what these kids have been through. There's going to be a lot of review, a lot of diagnostic testing to see where the kids are, where they have to pick up from. So just do the best that you possibly can and ask for help.
One thing I've discovered is that I can't even get past 2nd grade math now. So I'm not sure why you all changed the math, but I know I reached out to you for help.
Right.
But it has been challenging. So I think that's really sound advice. And at first we were also rigid and worried because it was new. And now I think we've all relaxed a little bit and taken a bit of the pressure off, because it's difficult to keep up.
It's overwhelming.
Yeah.
It's overwhelming. And especially if you're working yourself as well. And even if you're not, if you're just if you're not working and still trying to homeschool your kids, it's exhausting. Yes, because there is no more carry the one.
No, there's no more carry the one. I don't know why. And you teachers are worth your weight in gold. We thank you for all that you do. That is not something that just anybody can do. So we miss you. We want to give you back our kids.
We miss the kids so much. Every meeting that we're on, like we miss the kids. Like my school just did a whole video that we sent out to the kids about how much we miss them. So please, if there's any kids out there, please know that your teachers miss you just as much as you miss them.
So my concern with school too is, and this is for you, Lil, schools don't just provide formal education, you know, they are also providing very important social interactions for the healthy development of our kids. What can we do in the absence of this? So I have 3 kids. One of them is very social and she's struggling with this isolation and not being with her friends.
So you are correct. Like, you know, the big push now in all the schools is that social emotional learning. There's a whole SEL curriculum that teachers are trained on, you know, counselors are trained on as well. So, you know, it is that whole social awareness and it's a big component of it. You know, I know for, you know, there's a lot of Zoom meetings. So, you know, you really have to encourage your kids to get on Zoom meetings with their friends. As well as if you've got little kids, you know, if you're on Facebook, there's an app for kids. It's called Facebook Messenger Kids, where like they can actually play games with each other, you know, so that's for like the little kids. But just to be able to FaceTime with each other, you know, I'm guilty of it. My son is on with his best friend playing like Roblox, but it's something for him to do. And it's not all day long. They're not on video games or they're not on all day, but during breaks and stuff like that, they are. Your older kids, you know, same thing, like have them schedule Zoom meetings. If you're willing to, I know some people have had social distancing parties on their front lawn, you know, where like everybody brings their own food and sits on a front lawn and, you know, you sit 6 feet away from each other. If your kids are at that point where they are that, you know, desperate for social interaction and you feel it affecting them, their mental health, then do whatever you can to organize something. Do a drive-by, sit in your car while your friends, like, you know, are on their driveway, you're in the car, but come up with something to kind of help your kids still be able to have that social interaction with each other.
Okay, so think out of the box, get creative.
Yes.
Screens are not necessarily a terrible thing. We're connecting through them right now. So, okay, thanks, Lil. Abuna, I have an interesting comment for you. Someone texted me because they wanted to stay anonymous. So they are asking, Abuna, can we propose women staying in one house and men staying in another house for the rest of the quarantine? Take it away.
No, I'm laughing because it is surprising me that we didn't discover that till we are in front of one another. So it means that we were in amnesia, or we were in Alzheimer. Elephant in the room, as we say. You say that in psychology. So elephant is in the room because we are not communicating. We are not in harmony. We are not in healthy confrontation. So all of these mistakes we used to do without awareness. This is what makes me angry. So now we need to deal with the situation. And I say, blessed are you, Corona, that you have given us this chance to know that we do not live in harmony, we do not live in communication, we do not live in confronting one another in a healthy way. So please return to the main source of the problem. I remember once they came to me and they said to me, Abuna, kids in Egypt, the girls and boys, they meet one another under the tree in the courtyard of the church. So this is not right. They leave the liturgy, they leave the Sunday school, and they meet together, and um, they do not come to the Sunday school, and they enjoy being together. You know, in Egypt, it's a stigma for kids, girls and boys to meet together. So one of the servant, he said that the only solution for this problem is to cut the tree. If we'll cut the tree, they will not find a place to sit. So it's not the tree; it is the way. So it's not Corona. It is that we are wrong from the beginning. So face your problem and confront yourself, and no way to escape or to try to deceive yourself. Do not deceive yourself. If you are weak, say it, admit it, and seek a help. This is better than to say, I will try to escape and to find a place for men and another place for women. No. Do you know the story of that monk who was very يعني, disturbed, and he went to his spiritual father and said to him, Abuna, I need to leave the monastery. I can't live with my brothers, the monks. They are always disturbing me, and I can't live with them. I need to be alone, and I will find God, and I will be amazing monk if I'm alone. So give me the absolution to go outside the monastery, to go in a cave in the inner wilderness. So his father said to him, okay, go your way, but I know what will happen. So he said to him, thank you, Abuna, and he carried his books and his Bible, and he carried a jar of water and a little bread, and he went to the inner wilderness until he found a cave. He entered the cave and said, wow, I love this solitude, and to be alone and to enjoy being with God alone. So now I need to prepare the place. So he started to put the Bible and the books, and he wanted to put the jar. The jar didn't rest on the wall, so he tried to find small rocks to adjust the jar. He tried to, the jar is curved from the bottom, so he tried to put the jar as much as he can, but the jar slided, so the water was spilled on the ground. So he hit the jar and broke the jar and said, you don't know how to rest, and this is not good. And they started to fight with the jar. طبعا he couldn't spend the first night because he didn't have water, so he returned, and his father was waiting for him at the door of the monastery. Why are you back? I said, the jar, I fought with the jar. He said to him, I took all the monks away from you, and now you fight with a jar? You have to know that the point is with you, not with the people around you. So I say, most likely he is a man. I say to this man, it is the point not in the jar, but in you.
Thank you for saying that, Abuna, especially on Mother's Day.
Happy Mother Day to all of you.
Any encouragement for us overwhelmed moms who feel like we're wearing many hats?
I know that, and I appreciate what you are doing with your kids, with your husbands, with your houses, and with the duty. So this is the greatness of a mom. Mom, she does everything, and she has 10 arms and 15 legs and 13 minds to take care of all of that. She's a multitask person.
Mhm.
As a male, at the end of the day, I'm a male, by the way. At the end of the day, I'm a man. So we think, in boxes. So I can't think in two things in one time. Many times while I'm watching something important in the TV, my wife comes to me and she's trying to speak with me, but I say to her, I can't listen to two things in one time. But for her, she can speak and she can listen and she can text and she can cook in the same time. So a woman is a very smart human being, multitask, and she can go from here to there emotionally. She's flexible enough to move from one thing to the other. As a man, if I'm angry, I can't smile. If I'm smiling, I can't take care of another thing. But you ladies are amazing in this point. So I pray for you, and this is your mission. And if you read the chapter 31 in the book of Proverbs, you will see that a woman, she does everything. She takes care of her house. She woke up in the night. She observes the next door field to purchase it and to have it in her family. So she is a broker. She is a chef. She is a physician. She is a nurse. She is a teacher. She is a plumber. She is an electrician. Everything.
She is
So,
tired.
and at the end of the day, she is the bomb to explode.
Yeah.
So we have to expect that, because at the end she is limited. So I ask every man to endure his wife and to take care of her, and I ask every mom to rely on the patience which comes from God, not from her own ability, because it's easy to run out of her energy and to explode.
Thank you,
Happy
Abuna.
Mother Day. Thank you.
Pray for us. So we have a question from Melbourne, Australia, actually. They're coming in fast. So, hi, everyone. I hope you're well and good health from Melbourne, Australia. Abuna, can you give us some advice on organizing such a talk and group and service in another country? Thank you.
So I didn't understand the question.
They want your help in organizing a service and a group and a talk in Australia. Any advice?
Like this?
Yes.
Okay, just as Sylvia did, you have to take a representative of every field, health field, financially, psychologically, spiritually. And by the way, if you will search, you will find many people, they are ready to serve. And by the way, through the media, we can help you as much as we can. If you can ask us, so it means that we can answer you. So we are ready for you. But in Australia, I know that many people, they are more than qualified and they are ready to serve. Our Lord, he said that raise your eyes and you'll find that the fields are ready for harvest. And in the parable of the fellows of the 11th hour, when he went to the market, he found many people standing there, and he said, "What about you?" And they said a very important sentence: "No one hired us." So if you will search, you will find many servants to help you. Otherwise, we are ready to help you till you find someone. Thank you.
Thank you, Abuna. Someone wanted to thank you on Facebook for praising women and their talents. They want to say a big thank you to you, Abuna.
My pleasure. This is, I do not compromise. I say the truth.
Yes. Okay, so we have a question for Mariam Girgis, our mental health extraordinaire. So this is a situation that's compounding on folks that were already struggling with mental health before all of this started, before anyone even heard of COVID. So tell me what you think the biggest factors right now are that are contributing to mental health and trauma.
First of all, happy Mother's Day to everybody who is a mother out there. So thanks for that question, Sylvia. This is an issue that's that's actually a lot of people are actually struggling with now. People that were struggling with mental health before COVID, and now people who are struggling with the obstacles and the stresses that have come along with COVID. I would say the most pertinent issues that I'm seeing with clients are grief, a sense of loss, and an uptick in anxiety, depression, drug use, and stress within relationships. I would say in terms of grief and loss, a lot of people are, for the first time, grieving the loss of a loved one. But there are also other layers of grief and loss. There is the loss of, excuse me, the loss of normalcy, the loss of a schedule, the loss of connection, the loss of being around people, the loss of just normalcy, everyday normal functioning. And so I don't think people are taking the time to really reflect on the impact of that. And what kind of loss am I experiencing? Because there's this abnormal feeling. There was a great article in the New York Times. This abnormal feeling that you're having is grief, because you are grieving some kind of loss. So that's really one to really reflect on. And also the loss of being able to grieve over loved ones. Now with all of the restrictions, this is an unprecedented time in terms of like, there's no azza, there's no sense of even comfort or support that you feel from the sense of community. And so that piece is heavily impacting the sense of community, or the loss of community is really heavily impacting, because we are social beings. The uptick in anxiety and depression, I would say, is something to really pay attention to. A lot of people struggled with this pre-COVID, like I said, but now people are coming to me and saying, I experienced these symptoms last night, and they come to find out that they had panic attacks. And this was the first time that they've had a panic attack, and it was very scary for them. And so, you know, you have to kind of just be mindful of that and what's happening to you, the isolation in terms of, you know, depression and feeling sad. A lot of people are feeling an overwhelming sense of hopelessness as well when they are left with their thoughts, because their coping mechanism of connection has been taken away from them. Now they're left a lot of times with their thoughts. And this is the first time a lot of people are just left with their thoughts. And it can be kind of scary for some of them. So, you know, just being mindful of that. And this is the first time, especially in like first world countries, I would say this is the first time a lot of people are realizing how fragile life is. And when you come to terms with that, that's very scary. You realize just how fragile it is. And also the uptick in the concern for your loved ones. I'm concerned for my parents. I'm concerned for my loved ones. I'm concerned for this person who I care about, and they're sick and they are more susceptible, right? So you have this extra layer of concern and worry that's always on your mind. And I think Abuna, he said it before, the paranoia, right? The paranoia of, now am I sick? Now what's going on? And the uptick even in obsessive compulsive behaviors. I'm washing my hands. Yes, I'm washing my hands the recommended time, but people are washing their hands 10 times the recommended time, right? Or carrying out things that they just can't help. They have to carry it out in order to alleviate their anxiety. Now, in terms of relationships, I think Lillian mentioned it briefly in terms of the parent-child relationship. There's a lot of strain there right now. This is the first time a lot of parents are with their kids for more than 8 hours in the day. You know, many times kids have schedules. They're in school for 8 hours, after school for a couple of hours, they wind down, they do their homework, they spend maybe an hour or two with their parents at the most during the day. Now the parents are teachers, they're the cookers, they're the cafeteria workers, they're the everything with the child. And so that becomes a strain and a stressor. Even for the parents, I hear a lot of parents feeling overwhelmed and feeling like they're failures because they can't teach their kids, or I don't know, like you said, Sylvia, earlier, like it's actually a valid frustration. I don't know second grade math. I don't know how to help my 7-year-old. How do I not know how to help my 7-year-old? So that's another layer. In terms of, you know, the quarantine itself, I think we forget that many people are home with their abusers as well. So we must be cognizant of that in terms of strained relationships, even relationships that didn't have a strain before, or there wasn't any physical violence. We're seeing an uptick in that now because you're stuck in each other's face all the time. And so we have to be cognizant of that. If you feel that your friend or loved one is struggling with this, stretching out, you know, your hand in terms of support, in terms of how you can help them even from afar. And there are resources that we can share. And also the drug use, the drug and alcohol use. This is scary times, and some people have unhealthy coping mechanisms, which include drugs and alcohol. So we are seeing an increased sense of that. And then the one other thing that I will say that I'm coming across some clients is numbness, just complete numbness. I don't feel anything. And people are surprised by this numbness. Like, shouldn't I be feeling something? Shouldn't I be worried? Shouldn't I be concerned? And this is an actual normal coping mechanism. Sometimes we shut down because it's too overwhelming. And if you feel that you are numb, just take note of that. And be okay with it, you know, until it kind of rides its course for now, until you start seeing the impacts later on. Now, in terms of trauma later on, there are, you know, we are concerned in the uptick of anxiety, depression, PTSD, complex grief, you know, all of these issues that we are anticipating after quarantine.
Thank you, Mariam. So for those of you that don't have the hotline number, you can call between 6 and 10 and you can actually speak to Mariam.
Or Sylvia.
Or Sylvia and ask any of these questions. We're here to support you. But yes, I agree. I think we are all sort of forced to deal with things that we were never equipped to deal with before. So we have a lot of questions coming in. I do want to get to them. Mary Gabriel, we have a question for you. So a lot of people in our community have small businesses and they've either had to reduce their hours significantly or forced to close. So can you talk a little bit about what you're seeing with your small and family-owned clients and the kind of issues that they're coming up against and any recommendations that you may have? Mary is our attorney.
Hi all. Sure. You know, as you said, it's been a specific challenge for small businesses who are in a lot of ways bearing the brunt of, you know, the economic downturns take a lot of different forms. This one has really hit small businesses just because of its nature. And so in my practice, I advise a lot of business entities and they've been trying to figure out, well, you know, my doors are, I can't operate. How do I continue to pay my employees? A lot of them struggle a lot, not even so much with paying their employees, but with maintaining their health coverage. I mean, it's one thing to furlough if you have a staff of 10, it's another thing to, you know, and say, listen, we're not going to pay you, or we're going to pay you a reduced amount for 2 weeks. It's another thing to say to them, we're cutting off your health coverage. And so it's, you know, that was a big part, I think, of the driving force behind the CARES Act and all of the government programs that you've seen come out in the last few weeks. There have been a lot of states that have followed suit and have also tried to sort of supplement the government benefits. The big challenge with this, and I'm sure I don't have to tell you this, the big challenge is, you know, the CARES Act, for example, was like a 200-page bill. And so for someone, you know, who is a small business owner to be able to digest what the benefits are is a mountain of a task. And then by the time you finish reading the bill and actually figure out how it can help you, you're applying for benefits and the benefits are done. So, you know, for example, in the first round of the CARES Act funding, you know, all of there was a program that was for the benefit of employers of less than 500 employees, which is most. And what it did was it said, listen, if you keep your employees employed and you apply for a loan from these banks, we're going to ultimately help you forgive the loan if you use that loan to pay your staff. The problem is, by the time a lot of employers figured out what the benefit was, the funding was done. And so that's going to be an ongoing problem. What I will tell you is, if you are a small business and you are looking for guidance on this, you know, of course, we have the hotline, but other than that, there really is, like, most law firms, my law firm, I will tell you, for example, are putting a ton of stuff on their website that is really designed to help small businesses try to navigate their way through this, and are putting this guidance on there in plain English. So you're not having to deal with, you know, reading a law that sounds super archaic. Most of the time, you know, even us, the lawyers who are trained in it, have a hard time trying to interpret what these laws say. So there is a ton of guidance out there on the internet. That being said, you know, be careful. It's not just any articles or anything. Make sure that you are on like a law firm site and reading articles where you can see who the author is, etc. But there's a ton of guidance out there. You know, aside from that, we're seeing, like I said, in my practice, I'm seeing a lot of the activity that comes along with an economic downturn, whether it be there are companies that are trying to either file for bankruptcy or reorganize or sell a part of their business to try to keep them afloat. You know, this Mariam said, it's an unprecedented situation, and so it is. And so, you know, for now, for the employers that are starting to think of, all right, well, what happens when I reopen? Can I ask my employees, hey, are you sick? Are you feeling any symptoms? Now, there are still a lot of restrictions about what you can ask your employees. Those have been relaxed in the last couple of weeks. You know, the federal government, the EEOC, has looked at it, and the EEOC is an entity that regulates employer-employee relations. And they've relaxed some of their restrictions so that you can, if you are a business that's starting to prepare or gear up to reopen, you can ask your employees whether or not they've experienced symptoms, and ask them for the risk factors that you think you need to know as an employer, so that you're not putting your staff or your customers or your clients at risk. And again, there's, you know, a ton of guidance out there. Just like I said, be careful about where you look. Typically, if you're looking for a law firm's website or not, you know, there's going to be articles out there, short stuff that you can look at, and that will give you some guidance about what you can do. You know, the other area that we're sort of seeing a lot is insurance coverage. You know, a lot of these small businesses trying to figure out, well, you know, where does insurance coverage come into play? A lot of these businesses buy what's called business interruption coverage, which generally speaking is what's supposed to kick in if there's an event that occurs that impacts your revenue or impacts your ability to continue to operate. More or less exactly what we're going through now. But, you know, a lot of these insurance companies will write exclusions into these policies. For example, I have a client who brought us a business interruption policy, and in the policy, believe it or not, was a virus exclusion. Who would have thought, right? 2 years ago. And so we were in a tough situation where we're trying to figure out, well, was it, you know, really the virus that caused the loss, or was it the government, the stay-at-home orders and the executive orders that caused the loss? And so you have to get sort of creative. And the final area that comes to mind is contracts, right? If you're a business entity or even an individual, and you have a contract, but you either have no income, or the reason that you entered into the contract is relevant now because of what the economic situation is, or because of the stay-at-home orders, do you have an obligation to continue with that contract? And you know, this is one of those situations. A lot of contracts will have what's called a force majeure clause, which is a Latin phrase. But it's basically one of those provisions in contracts that nobody ever pays attention to or reads, because you never ever think that they're going to come into play. And what they do is they say, listen, in the event that there's an act of God, a hurricane, whatever it is, then you're no longer obligated under this contract, and you can't sue me for breach of this contract. And again, it's not a provision that we typically pay a lot of attention to when we're drafting contracts or when we're reviewing contracts, but in this world, it's extremely relevant now. And it's going to become a lot more relevant. I think people are going to pay a lot more attention to it going forward. So, you know, read your contracts. If you're somebody who, if you're a small business or you're an individual who is part of a contract, even a lease with another entity, and you're trying to figure out how you're going to pay it or how you're going to comply with the contract, take a look at it. Sometimes they have those provisions in there that you just never thought of before that say, listen, in the event of an act of God like this or a pandemic, then you're released from these obligations, and you'll be happy you have that provision in there. Also, you know, take a look at those insurance policies. That there's a reason that you're paying those premiums all year, and this might be a situation in which that coverage kicks in. But you know, there are some options for you. It's just, like I said, it's a new world for everybody. So you know, here's hoping, you know, we can all do what we can, and with the help of these government assistance programs, et cetera, that a lot of these small businesses are able to get through it.
Thank you, Mary. A virus clause. I mean, that's brilliant. Who would have thought, truly?
There's no one that is more creative than an insurance company.
Everything's covered. All acts of God.
That is true.
Pashoy, I have a lot of questions for you, Pashoy. A lot of people have a lot of concerns, so I saved you so you can save your energy, Pashoy. So people have lost their jobs. They're either furloughed or dealing with a significant reduction in pay. How are you advising people to manage all of this? What should we defer and what should we pay?
So this is a excellent question. We deal with this every single day. And there's two sides of this. There is the business owner side and the employee side. Mm-hmm. So let me start with the employee side, and then I'll go back to the business owner after. On the employee side, you have to know how to maximize your income. Whether you're getting a pay cut, are you eligible for unemployment? A lot of people are not aware, even if you're working part-time, you still can go and collect unemployment. You don't have to be jobless to collect unemployment. A partial work can still qualify you for a partial unemployment. And unemployment right now, a lot of people are on unemployment making more money than their actual jobs. And therefore, the employer side is struggling to get the people back to work. And there is some programs that I'm going to be talking about that the employer must bring their employee back, and the employee does not want to go back because they're making more money on unemployment. So there is a big issue, and the employer is afraid that if he reports them to the unemployment, they're going to lose the benefit, and now he lost a loyal employee. So now the employer has a dilemma. But let me go back on topic. So the expenses that need to be deferred. Mortgage companies give 3-month deferred mortgage. Just call your mortgage company, so you don't have to pay your mortgage for 3 months, and this 3 month gets added after your 30 or 15-year mortgage. So after the 15-year or 30 years, you're going to get an extra 3 months to pay for these 3 months. So it's not going to cost you anything. Just do the deferral if you had a major income loss. Second, a lot of utility companies are doing the same. Call your utility, call PSA&G. Whoever is utility company, call them. They have a deferral program. Also, your insurance companies. Insurance companies giving 15% credit because people are not driving. So therefore, they're reducing the monthly bill. And of course, the biggest item is taxes. A lot of the taxes are deferred until July 15. Maximize this. Make sure you're not prepaying your taxes, but at the same time, do not pay late. So a lot of people are going to be struggling actually in the next 6 months because the taxes are deferred until July, and now we're so behind in catching up. So the second 6 months of 2020, it's going to be a lot of hardship paying taxes that it was deferred, and now 6 months you have to pay for the full year of taxes. So these are the basically expenses that you have to defer. And through this pandemic, a lot of people got the stimulus check in the individuals. So they got $1,200 for single, $2,400, and then $500 per family. And the sad part is you see a spike on the online shopping using this money.
Oh,
So
wow.
people are not smart. Companies
They're bored,
making companies making millions of dollars a day in sales. Once the stimulus check kicks in, millions of dollars in sales kicks in online. So again, you do not know how long is the pandemic. You do not know how long the government is going to help. So far, this is it. That's the help that the government is giving. But yet, people are living paycheck to paycheck. And when you get $2,400 or $3,000 check in your hand, the first thing you do is you be conservative with it. Make sure it lasts you for a longer time, because you do not know what's going to happen next. But now, a lot of people just wasted on a lot of unneeded stuff. So this is just on the first portion. Second, that the government is helping with the unemployment. The unemployment usually it's 60% of your pay. The federal government is giving an extra $600 and extended unemployment from 26 weeks to 39 weeks. So an extra 13 weeks. Again, they're doing a lot of help. Keep in mind, a lot of individuals who rely on the refunds of the income tax refund, they're going to struggle in 2020 when you come to January 21 to file your income tax, and you are waiting for the refund to kick in January and February, and you had a big unemployment in 2020. This unemployment is going to destroy your refund. So do not expect in January and February 2021 you're getting a $5,000-$6,000 check. It's not going to happen anymore, and you have a $20,000, $30,000 unemployment benefit. The government is not gonna just give money for free. So you have to be careful, and you have to really consult with your financial advisor and tax professional how to do it and how to pay your taxes on time. This is a lot of people are going to be struggling in the next 6 months to 1 year from these decisions that they're making today.
Thank you, Shoy. We have a couple of questions also about unemployment. It seems that one person received unemployment for 1 month and then it just stopped, and she's unable to get in touch with the unemployment office.
Actually, unemployment, it's a very old system in New Jersey.
Okay.
And they've been actually trying to seek IT professionals who knows this old language to help them, because a lot of demand on it, and it's, as you can imagine, millions and millions of people filed unemployment, and nobody can help. So the system is overwhelmed. You have to file a claim. You cannot just stop. You file a complaint online to make sure you're getting your benefit. Maybe the benefit will stop for a week or two, but it will resume. And even if you did not resume it immediately, it's going to resume retroactive. You're not going to lose anything. The only other option that maybe you did something wrong on the application, or you filed something wrong on the application, so maybe you can refile. If you got denied, a lot of people filed wrong, especially the self-employed. This is a new area where self-employed now are eligible for unemployment. And whenever you file, you have to file not under the unemployment, but you file under the pandemic unemployment. So it's a specific requirement that you must file under to qualify. And if you did not click the right boxes, you're going to be disqualified. So there is a lot of new territories and a lot of guidance coming up every single day to help business owners and self-employed people and employees through this new territory.
Okay, we have a couple questions about the small business owners for you, Bishoy.
So new business, this is a mess.
The small businesses.
Small business, it's a mess. And the reason it's a mess, that it's a new law that the federal government still tweaking as we speak. So like Mary said, the PPP or the Paycheck Protection Program was issued end of March, March 27th, and trillions of dollars were funded into this program. Now, this money was gone day one. Yes, the banks took about 2 weeks to run out of money to fund it, but basically whoever filed in day one, whoever got the money, that's it. Anybody else got their money in the second round. So as of today, it's May 10, we're already 6-7 weeks out, and we're still people receiving their money and people having issues with the funding of the program. And the business owner actually struggle in a couple of things. First, they want to keep their trained staff. This is the biggest loss that any business owner can have, is to lose their trained staff. And how to keep them happy, how to furlough, and how to keep the health benefit, and even how to pay them. And the federal government is trying to get them off the unemployment. So that's why they do the reason for the PPP. And if they used it for the payroll and for rent, which is the biggest expense, this loan is forgiven. So this is a major, the CARES Act, it helped a lot of business, but still, and that's my own true analysis, that I think we're gonna see a third bill coming up to fund more money into this. I don't think that the money, it's gonna be enough. It already ran out, and a lot of people did not get to it. And so that's the area. Second, a lot of people missed on the EIDL, which is the emergency fund, and that helped a lot of businesses. So, and this fund basically give a $10,000 grant, up to $10,000 grant, and then with a loan up to $2 million in loan. A lot of people missed on it. A lot of people missed on the New Jersey EDA funding because of again, the state of New Jersey, and New York has the same situation. Every state had its own program that ran to help businesses. And then these programs, honestly, ran out in the first.
I think, Bishoy, you've frozen. So
to your tax accountant, and they will be able to help you and guide you through what program you're qualified and what program you can find. But a lot of also clients and business cannot pay the rent, cannot pay your employees, and there's a lot of struggle into how to keep my door open or how to keep my business going after the pandemic. And this is a lot of the conversation that we're having with a lot of the business owners at this point.
Okay, so we have a lot of questions coming in about mortgages. I'm going to ask you one question. It's about redoing your contract and an end date that can't be moved.
Again, it depends on what kind of mortgage do you have,
Okay.
and what kind of and what flexibility is your mortgage provider is willing to give. Again, this is a pandemic, so a lot of mortgage companies are extending 3 months at the end of the mortgage period. A lot of companies are not. So you have to evaluate, you know, what's your mortgage company and what can they do to help you. Whether are you going to catch up in the next 3 months? If you missed 1 or 2 months, you can just catch up, you know, 50% every single month. You have to make a deal with them, and they have programs that will allow you to catch up on your mortgage payments or make extra payments in the future if you would like to. So it depends on the contract. So basically, yes.
Okay, thank you, Bishoy. I'm going to move on to a couple of other questions, and maybe I'll come back to these. We have a question for, I think this one could be for Dr. Nader Youssef, about strengthening our immunity. And there was a comment or a public service announcement about wearing your masks in your cars. So talk to us about that.
Okay, so thank you for the question. So when it comes to strengthening your immunity, I think we have to just focus on basic things. I think that includes sleep, your nutrition, and exercise. I think these are going to be your top 3 things. There's nothing that's going to be special against COVID. You know, there isn't some extra, you know, mint in the shea or some extra, you know, cannabis in my mask that's going to help me get through it today. So I think it's the 3 things. It's the same triangle we use all the time. And the biggest driver of eating healthy, sleep, and exercise is all the things that Miriam Girgis and Lillian have talked about already, right? So that's the managing your stress as effectively as you can. So I think those are going to be your 1, 2, 3. So I think you have to get out of the house if you can. I think you have to maintain your social distance. You need to exercise. And I think you can take it as an opportunity to explore healthy ways of eating. When it comes to any type of supplements, I think if you're somebody who's already interested in taking a multivitamin, I think there's nothing wrong with that. I think extra vitamin D is fine if you're kept indoors quite a bit. We know that vitamin D is a help. And anything to do with extra vitamin C has shown to help as well. So those are just some very basic rules for immunity, but there's nothing specific for COVID in general.
Okay. May I ask Dr. Nader Boulos, can you talk to us a little bit about antibody testing? We've got some questions about that.
Sure. You know, it's a kind of, everybody's wanting to do antibody testing. They want to know, am I immune? Am I not? Have I been exposed? Am I not? You know, I think from what I understand and from my research that I've read about a little bit, I don't know that there's any specific reason for anyone to go out on and get antibody testing on a personal level, as the tests are not 100%. And in addition to that, there's still question that even if you've developed antibodies, whether or not you will have immunity to the disease. The theory is that if you have antibodies, you should be immune to the disease for at least 6 months to 2 years, but it doesn't necessarily confer 100% immunity. And in addition, if there are multiple strains to COVID, which we're not sure if there are or not, but if there are multiple strains, you may be immune to the one strain you've been exposed to, but not immune to the other strain or strains. In my opinion, I think the only reason to really get antibody testing is if you are planning to donate plasma to help someone else recover from the disease for plasma donation. Other than that, just for personal informational use, I think there's little to any utility. Essentially, if you got sick with symptoms, then most likely you're going to have some sort of immunity. If you did not, you may still have some level of immunity, but not you may or may not get complete immunity. I don't know that it's worth testing for like for a personal level, other than if you plan to donate plasma.
Okay, so if you plan to donate plasma, then antibody testing is worthwhile. Okay, I got a nod from all the medical professionals on. Okay, and we have another question. Thank you, Nader. I think maybe Miriam Girgis can answer this one, please. What can we do to protect our mental space and find some peace when we can't even find a room to be alone in? I'm asking for a friend.
Oh, when you find out, tell me now. Yeah, this is a tough question because you're all like this all the time.
Lots of togetherness.
You ain't got nowhere to go, right? So I think there's a couple of things that can be done in terms of even just protecting your mental space, even though your personal space is very much so invaded. But I also want to add some other things that can help you stay stable in terms of protecting your mental space. I think, you know, sticking to a routine and schedule will help everybody. It'll alleviate anxiety for those who really need to know what's going to happen next, especially for children. They've been taken away out of their structured day. So as much as we can provide them structure in the home, and you also stick to a structured schedule, I think will help you. Even if you are at home getting on calls every day, I encourage, get dressed as if you're going to work, or more relaxed clothing, but change out of your PJs, get out of the sleep mode and get into work mode so that your mind can shift. Even you have those shifts in your mind that can help with the structure. I think also, with that being said, boundaries are really important, because your boundaries are, the physical boundaries are crossed. So boundaries in your work life. Your work now has all of a sudden come onto your dinner table. And so as much as you can really separate your work and your personal life, just like you are at work, I think it helps the mental state. Even if that means literally putting a cover over your computer and shutting down. You have to have like a mental shutdown, right? Or a do not disturb on your work apps or whatever it might be. Because I'm getting now emails from work at 3 a.m. and I'm telling people, shut it down. Don't email at 3 a.m. It's not healthy for you and it's not good for me, right? So really having these boundaries in terms of that, and even boundaries, screen time, like that can be very easy. Before you know it, you've been on a screen for 6, 7, 8 hours because it has work, your phone, calls, whatever it is. So please, even boundaries with your screen time, and find other things to do. This is a great time to get into a physical activity routine, a self-reflection routine, a quiet time routine. Now, in terms of, even finding ways to get your kids engaged, like having structured time and activity time with your kids can be helpful in giving them that structure and yourself that structure. Self-care. I think we underestimate this because we're home. Why should I do my hair? Why should I do mishadif eh? Why should I brush my teeth? Why should I whatever, right? Please take care of yourselves, whatever it is that you need to do. And don't feel guilty either. You need to stay stable and sane as much as possible for your loved ones around you. So whatever it is that you need to do for your self-care. If you're a social person, set time and force yourself to connect with people, because I know a lot of people who struggle with anxiety and depression, although they may be social, it's hard for them to do that initial step. So even if you tell your friends to check in on you, or having that kind of plan in terms of connection, because you know that that's healthy for you and a good coping mechanism for you. And I'm just going to say, forgive yourself. Be kind to yourself. There's so much more. You have to do everything now. And with the job market being unstable, people feel an added pressure to do so much more work so that they are more visible to their employers, so that they are showing their worth to their employers, but they're stressing themselves out. They're working 12, 13, 14-hour days. I might as well work these 2 hours that I used to use driving to and from work. No, don't use, I get that it is very stressful, but your health is number one. If you compromise your health, then what do you have? And, in terms of high levels of stress, we know, and the doctors here can tell you, it impacts your physical health as well. So finding ways to alleviate that stress and being mindful. You might have to like yell at yourself and be like, no, don't do this, because it's going to be more harmful than better. And like Dr. Neder was saying, physical activity and watching what you eat. People are ordering a lot now, it's like, oh, let me get DoorDash and let me just order this and let me order that, which is fine, but be careful of what you are putting into your body, because it can really contribute to your levels of stress and anxiety. More and more research is out there in terms of your mind, the gut and mind connection, and what you're eating can really directly impact your levels of anxiety. And just slowing down. I think COVID has really forced all of us to slow down, embrace it. It's okay to slow down. It's okay to be still. I mean, my favorite verse is be still and know that I'm God, right? Just be still, take it in. We are so uncomfortable to sit with our emotions and our feelings and our thoughts. But once you get used to it, it's a really great way to self-reflect, to connect more to God. You know, more and more research out there shows what we've already known, that a higher connection in spirituality and connection to God can really help with mental health as well. So, you know, taking this time to really just take care of yourself as well.
Thank you. No, I hear from a lot of people, a lot of clients too, that they're able now to not rush prayer.
Yeah.
So the whole family is able to pray even more than once a day. So I think that's the silver lining. Thank you, Mariam.
Mhm.
We have a couple of medical questions. I encourage you to ask your questions in the comments because we don't have that much time left. But you can call the 800 number. We're not able to get it up, but it's 888-311-3129. There is maybe Dr. Nader Yusuf Queens can answer this one. Can we talk about unapproved treatments versus clinical treatments for COVID?
Sure. Great question. One of the things I wanted to follow up on for Mariam Girgis, the brain gut is hugely important. I am a neurogastroenterologist, so she did pick my favorite topic in the world. So one of the things I prescribe most often is actually a very simple app that you can download off the your Google Play or your Apple Store, which is either Calm or Headspace. So even having something like that on your phone for 5 minutes or 10 minutes to just better understand how you breathe, how you relax, some kind of self-reflection, 5, 10, 15 minutes, even before bedtime, I find is something helpful for a lot of at least adolescents and their family members. To go back to the question that was just asked, I think it's really important that as we are watching TV and sometimes glued to, press conference after press conference, and we're listening to different types of treatments, what are the treatments I can use? Can I drink my Clorox, or can I have a mask made out of Lysol wipes or whatever? I think it's really important that you understand what fact versus fiction is. So there are no real approved treatments for COVID except for the Gilead drug. And the Gilead drug is something that is administered to very sick patients who are already in the hospital, who are most likely either about to be on a ventilator or on a ventilator, and it's given through an IV. So that's really the only drug that's really approved for this. There should be no real situation when, even if you've been potentially exposed to a patient or a family member, that you will go out and try to take some of these other medicines that are out there or that have been touted on TV, like hydrochloroquine or Zithromax, a cocktail like that. Again, I think one of the things we have to understand is, and what Nader said earlier, we're not really sure exactly what is the main reason for this. Some of these patients all present with different symptoms, like Mariam Doss said. So we really have to really watch the patient in front of us, treat that patient as we get the symptom. So there would be no reason to take a medicine that's unapproved and for a presumed diagnosis without really following through. So I think that would be some of the advice I would give to some of the folks listening.
Okay, thank you, Nader, for that. Dr. Nader Boulos, Brooklyn. We have 2 Mariams and 2 Naders on. So this question is for you. A reason to take medicine for corona to prevent disease, or if been recently exposed without symptoms? So should we get ahead of it?
As far as there's really nothing preventative to take, like Nader Yusuf was saying earlier. It's more of the make sure that you stay healthy, eat well, exercise, etc., and that contributes to your overall health. There's nothing you can take to actually prevent it. It's more of the, what we're doing is trying to stay at least 6 feet away, wearing masks, etc. That's kind of the best thing. Staying home is the absolute best thing you can do, because if you're not out on the street, if you're not in the mall, not in the malls, but in the stores, if you're not in the stores, then you're have very, very limited exposure, and that's the best prevention. But if you do have to go out, please wear your mask and also stay 6 feet away. Make sure that when you come home, you wash up, whether it's washing your face, washing your hands for at least 20 seconds, using warm water and soap. Those are the best preventions. Even with a known exposure, not everyone that's going to be exposed will necessarily develop disease. And just because you were in the same supermarket as someone else that had it doesn't mean that you're going to get it. If you're covered and they're covered, you should still be okay. There's no reason to try to jump the gun and start taking 3 or 4 or 5 different medications to try to prevent the disease. You know, you're also risking side effects of medications and other injury, self-injury from taking things that are not prescribed to you. So the best thing is sit and wait, as you may not actually come down with any significant symptoms. And if you're really unsure, best thing to do is call your medical provider, call your doctor and ask the questions of what they think they should do in your specific situation. Understanding that not everybody is healthy, people do have comorbid conditions, and everybody's situation is different. So if you're not sure what to do, call your healthcare professional, ask for advice to do what to do in your specific case.
When to use telehealth and when to go make an appointment and go to the doctor. Can you give us a little bit of a difference?
You know, interestingly, a lot of doctors' offices are not taking patients right now. Some of them have closed down completely. Some of them are still available. I think if you already have a tie to your own physician and they are available, even not in the office, a lot of the doctors' offices are taking phone calls, and they can give you some answers over the phone as to whether or not you should show up. I know a lot of doctors' offices in our area are saying if you have any flu-like symptoms or any fever or cough, they don't even want to see you in the office anyway. So just give a call to your doctor if you have one. If you don't have one, either a MediCenter or your local emergency department will do, and you can go. But I think the biggest thing is if you're not having symptoms, you don't have to go to the hospital. If you just have a question, try to call and ask your question. Don't try to go into the emergency department.
Okay, thank you for that. People wearing masks in their cars. I've gotten a couple of questions about that. Is this necessary? Is this overkill? Is it healthy?
Who's that question for?
Anybody who'd like to take it. You, Neder, Mariam, Dos.
Mariam, you want to take that one? Or?
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yes.
So yeah, I would not recommend wearing a mask if you're alone in the car. You know, let's not undermine what our immune system has been built to do. God created an incredible immune system. So I think wearing a mask in a car where you're alone, you know, you're breathing in the same air and your same, you know, viruses and bacteria are all around us. We have a heightened sense of it right now because of what's going on, but let's not underestimate our immune system. You know, I think as a community, I think this has made us all very aware. We need to be healthy. We need to take healthier steps to become healthier people and to, you know, stay away from the mish and the fasir and, you know, many of those things that are not so healthy for us. As a community, we are not very healthy. And I hope that this time that we're in does encourage people to start, you know, being more active, being more healthy, making healthier choices, so that in a time like this, we do have the ability to fight. That doesn't say that, you know, obviously everyone is different, like, you know, some of the other doctors have said, but, and we all have, you know, different comorbidities, but, you know, I don't think that wearing a mask is going to protect you. You already have an immune system that is already fighting all of these viruses that have always been around us. So I think that that's important, and not to kind of, you know, if we're doing the right things, washing our hands, you know, not excessively, you know, keeping our distance, like Neder said, and Dr. Nader Youssef, I think, we'd be safe to be in the car alone and not have to wear. Now, if you have a family member that's immunocompromised, that person should be wearing a mask. But I think we have to kind of put a lot of it into perspective and kind of be able to filter out what we're hearing on the news, a lot of it. And just to, build your own immune system. Let's not forget that.
Yes, let nature take its course too and do its job. Thank you, Mariam. Okay, I've kept you guys for a long time. I have one more question for Lillian about school year end, and then Abuna will wrap up. I have a question for him. Lillian, can you talk to us about the end of school year and how it can't come fast enough? And can we just end it sooner and start it earlier?
So I know a lot of people were saying that. A lot of the teachers that I work with were like, they kind of almost wish the governor would just like, okay, fine, we're not going back this year, but can you just cut the year short? Okay, we're done by May 31st. But that obviously isn't the case. And I really feel that helping children and students gain some sort or some type of closure is so paramount to them, no matter what the age or the grade is. I feel bad for all the seniors who are missing out on graduation and things like that. But really, if you think about it, even from us, our own experience, like completion of a school year, it signifies an accomplishment, even if it is like 2nd to 3rd grade, or, kids who are finishing elementary school and going to middle school. It's like, it's a maturing, it's a personal sense of like pride and accomplishment that like a child like earned like the ability to progress to the next grade. Like, I don't know if you remember when we were younger, you get your final report card and it says on the bottom, like, promoted to grade, whatever. Or, when you would ride the school bus home on the last day of school and you throw your papers out the window, but there was always just some sort of sense of closure. And I feel that these kids are missing out on that. So I think as parents, we really have to work on validating this for our children, validating their feelings that, some of them are feeling that loss. Like, Mariam talked about loss, and this is another loss for them. It's the loss of an end of a school year for them. So even if you ask them, like, what do you miss most about this school year? Like, what did you miss? Some of them might be a sport, all spring sports were canceled. Maybe you as a family go in the backyard and play a game of softball. Some, all school plays, like all the spring musicals, all that stuff was canceled. So, maybe you have your child like write a play for the family and the family act it out, but just to do something to help those kids gain some sort of closure or some way validate their feelings. If you have at the end of every year, if you as a family always had an end of the year ritual, going to an ice cream store or something like that, congratulating your kids, good job, year done, year's over, please continue to do those things, because this is a time for these kids that they're going to look back on. And, we really don't want them to think of like, oh, I just sat around wearing my pajamas all day long. We want to make sure that they felt safe. They felt heard. They felt that their feelings of them missing out on an end of school year is, the parents care and acknowledge that and do something for these kids. I don't know, make them a diploma or a piece of paper that says promoted to the next grade, or just something. I feel these kids need some sort of type of closure. I'm not knocking what listen, all the medical professionals, you guys are all heroes, you're on the front line. But personally, from where I'm sitting, I really think these kids are the heroes. I really, they've had their whole entire lives turned upside down on them, and any sense of normalcy is not there anymore. So anything we could do to validate their feelings and help them feel a little bit more normal, I think is paramount to helping these kids out.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Lil. Do I get an award, or do the moms that are homeschooling get it? No?
No, you don't. We never get an award.
Exactly. Nothing new.
Thankless.
So part of our service, along with the hotline, we're able to answer any of your questions every night. So feel free to call us anytime. We are also doing a service called Angel Delivery. So we have a lot of volunteers that have actually signed up. They will pick up anything that the at-risk community or the elderly may need. they can even stop by and chat with them, because the social isolation piece with our elderly is very difficult. So there's a lot that they have to agree to in terms of being healthy and practice social distancing. So they go through the questionnaire, but we encourage you, if you know anyone that is in need of anything, whether it's pharmacy pickup or groceries, anything at all, we have a group of volunteers that are ready to help. Remember, there's a lot of college kids that are home and healthy and with cars and would like to serve. So we have tons of servants. We just want you guys to reach out and to simply ask. We're all here together and in this together. With that said, Abuna, somebody so suggested that we talk about Philippians 4:6-7. Do not be anxious about anything, but in prayer and supplication. And I think that's a beautiful way to end on a positive note. We are resilient. We are a very resilient community. We've been through much worse, and we're gonna get through it, but through him. So please, I'm gonna talk that.
Okay, just I need to thank everyone here, especially Sylvia Farhat for her great effort. And also I thank everyone, every member in the team. I'm so proud of you. I'm so blessed. I'm so lucky to serve God with you. And I ask the Lord to reward you for all your effort. I would not to forget also Andrew Abdo for his effort with us behind the scene effort. And I pray for everyone that we may pass this difficult time. Please, every time you wake up in the morning, try to make your day a unique day. I know that now, for the first time in our life, we ask, what day is today? Is it Monday? Is it Tuesday? One of my friends, he called me from Egypt, and I said to him, every day is we wake up and we are in Tuesday, not Tuesday, Tuesday. I know that in Arabic, the word Tues means goats, fleshly goats. So we are in Tuesgate every day. If you think about piling up the books you didn't read, if you think about having books through internet, e-books, if you think about going to your old videotapes and to see your memories, if you think about rearranging your the pictures of the memories of the family, if you think about giving calls to your old friends in America and in Egypt and all over the world to search about them, where are they in the whole world, make your day a unique day. And do not forget to be connected, highly connected with God. I think that we will not forget the days of COVID-19. As much as we will live, we will not forget these days. We will not forget the very unique Holy Week we spent, and we will not forget how we were close to one another. And by the way, our kids will remember these days. Let me tell you, I still remember the days of the war in 1967 and 1973 between Egypt and Israel, while we suffer from this difficult time. So difficult times are unique in our memories. So please create good memories with your kids, because they will remember you in this difficult time, how you acted, how you were strong in the Lord, how you were so compassionate to them. And finally, I'll give you the blessings or the benediction by this verse. Philippians 4:6. Be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God, and peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds through Jesus Christ. Finally, brethren, whatever things are true, whatever things are noble, whatever things are just, whatever things are pure, whatever things are lovely, whatever things of good report, if there is any virtue and if there is anything praiseworthy, meditate on these things. The things which you have learned and received and heard and saw in me, these do, and the God of peace will be with you. So I pray that may God bless you all, and we are so happy in meeting with you, and we promise that we'll try to do it again and again. Please, if you face any difficulties, uh, do not hesitate to contact everyone. If there is any financial issues, please contact me. I will try to help you. Otherwise, I will speak with your father in your local area. If you need to confess, please contact your Abuna or contact me. Now we can receive confession by phone. And I ask the Lord to give you his peace to protect you from any disease. I will give you the benediction now, and I will conclude with this prayer. Heavenly Father, thank you for this opportunity. We are together having you in our midst. Please bless everyone watches or hears us, and bless those servants who have prepared this night. Um, Come and let your Holy Spirit dwell in our heart, that we may have you. And if we have you, we will overcome every fear. If I walk in the valley of the shadow of death, I will not fear anything, because you are with me. Through the prayer of Saint Mary and the blessings of the resurrection of the Lord, hear us as we pray thankfully. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us our daily bread. Forgive us our trespass as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, deliver us evil, and in Christ Jesus our Lord. Thine the kingdom, the power, the glory forever and ever. Amen. The love of God the Father, the grace of His only begotten Son, our Lord God and Savior Jesus Christ, the fellowship and the communion of the Holy Spirit be with you. Depart in peace. May the peace of the Lord be with you all.
Thank you, Abuna.
You're welcome.